In my university days, I did a major in kinesiology and a minor in anatomy. And I was fortunate enough to have an internship with a strength and conditioning coach in Toronto, a fairly well-known strength coach. And he was the coach for a lot of the national teams. So, you know, the national basketball team, lacrosse, track. And he really opened up my mind in the sense of learning and understanding that athletic development is on a continuum, like a long continuum. So he really taught me that from injury to getting back to your sport to going to a high performance level, developing that is all on the same line. And whether you're on this part of the line or this part of the line, the foundations of strength and conditioning are always going to be the same. I never actually went into chiropractic school to be a chiropractor. It was never the main thing that I wanted to do. It was always just another tool in my tool belt to be able to use. And often in practice, people ask a lot of our therapists, what are you guys? Are you chiropractors? Are you strength coaches? Are you gymnastic coaches? Are you mobility coaches? And we're all of those things, because I don't necessarily believe in being pigeonholed into one thing. And I don't believe that there is only one answer for one particular problem. So we often think of it in a very broad way. And that's why when I developed the Sports Pod, I wanted to develop therapists that were able to think about things in a more wide perspective rather than a very narrow focus. And when we're able to think about wide, we're able to pull out a lot of different things for therapy, for athletic development, for many different things. And that's where I came up with the concepts. I also hated the medical model. I hated the chiropractic model. I hated the medical model. I hated how people were just being kind of sausage factory through, like having only like 5 to 10 minutes with a doctor. I wanted to be able to spend a lot of time with each patient or with each athlete. Because a lot of the time, we see athletes when they've seen like several other doctors beforehand, and we're always the last hope. And we're not doing anything crazy. We're not doing anything groundbreaking. What we're doing is we're sitting down and we're listening to what your issues are, you know, and all aspects, and asking really good questions about it. So when we are looking for new movement specialists at the Sports Pod, we're looking for doctorates of chiropractic and doctorates of physical therapy. There are 3 foundational things that we really look for, and skill is actually not one of those things. The first thing that we always look for is, do you have a good foundation in anatomy and physiology? Because those are like the very basics of the human body. Like, it is super important that you understand and have a good understanding inside and out every single anatomical structure in a human body. The second thing that we look for is the capacity and the curiosity, or the want to be curious, to want to learn new things often, because it's a core value for us. The core value of always learning, understanding that we will never really know everything about the human body. It's like such a vast topic that it'll take thousands of years for us humans to really understand how the human body really works. I feel like we've only really scratched the surface. And then number 3 is if they're good listeners. You know, we spend a lot of time with our athletes, and we spend a lot of time listening to them, because oftentimes in the medical world, in the chiropractic world, in the physical therapy world, or just in the therapy world, people don't get the time to be able to tell their stories, to be able to tell in detail what is actually going on with them. And oftentimes when athletes do come to the Sports Pod, they will basically tell us exactly what's wrong with them. Like, our job is actually fairly easy if you're just listening. So our mission statement at the Sports Pod is to change athletic care and athletic care outcomes. I have noticed over the years from a very early age in my career in school and university and through chiropractic school, was that everything was compartmentalized into like different things. So you'd have your massage therapist, you have your acupuncturist here, you'd have your PT here, you'd have your coach over here. Everything was so all over the place, and you had to see 10 different people for one problem, right? Like a knee problem. You'd have to see 10 different people for a knee problem. And when we developed the Sports Pod as a group, you know, our philosophy is that care is on a continuum. It just depends on which part of that continuum that you're on. And as the therapist, you should be able to handle all of those things. Rehab, you should be able to prevention, you should be able to get them back to a level in which they can get them back to where they were athletically before, and then develop them to prevent these things from happening. So one of our most important mission statement at the Sports Pod is to really centralize everything into one place instead of having to go to 10 places for one problem.